Hello, Steeler Nation, and welcome to another episode of the Steel Syndicate podcast. Not live this time, it is a premiere, guys, but please comment in the live chat. We will be around in the live chat. I will be there, and if Mark's awake, he will also be there as well. But obviously, with all these time zones, guys, it can be very confusing. Mark, how you doing this evening, isn't it, in Australia?
Yeah, mate, we're from the future. And the premieres. So wait, two different time zones. England, Australia, talking American football. We're talking live now. That's going to be a premiere later that I might be a part of, and you will be a part of. That's something right there. That is trippy. That what? But at the same time, I guess the first time you view the video, it's live to you. So then that's all that matters. And as long as you click like and subscribe and do all those YouTube things, then we're on the money. But I don't know when you are airing this video the next few hours or so. I could be awake.
Yeah, we're doing this, guys.
I might be asleep. I don't know. I'm feeling pretty tired though because it's like by 9 p.m. now. So, but I'm keen, man. I'm keen to talk talking football. And I know you got a bit of a segment we're gonna do, or a bit of a not game, but like. Yeah, I have no idea what you're gonna do. So
okay, because it's 10:15 here, so it's 5:15 in the morning in America, Eastern Standard Time when we're recording. Obviously, it's not. It is weird, man, weird. Anyway, so what we're going to do, guys, is we're just going to have a little reflect back on our season, talk about some of the players that have really stood out to Mark and I, talk about some of the games that stood out to us, and just sort of reflect back on the season, because I think there's always a danger, isn't it, Mark? When the season finishes, it's kind of straight into the next season, isn't it? It's who's going, who's staying, who do we get rid of, who do we need to bring in? And it's kind of some of the good moments, some of the good plays, some of the good players, and those that have had good seasons kind of get forgotten, don't they?
They definitely do. And what also is forgotten too was we saw the Ratbirds lose today, so that's fantastic. Look, I do love talking the draft. I do love talking, free agent stuff, all that kind of stuff. I love it. But I think it is kind of funny in this social media, new wave of things in the last 7 years or 8 years or whatever. And I'm getting older, so maybe it's like annoying me more. But it is kind of like, okay, next. You know what I mean? Like, okay, we lose a playoff game, the Jets don't help us out. Oh, sorry, we lose a chance for the playoffs and we don't get in. And it's like, okay, now we're going. We need a cornerback one. Like, and you talked about that on the Syndicate the other day. Did quite well, and I agree with you, right? Some people didn't agree with you, saying, well, we got 17 interceptions. I'm like, nah, but if you go back and look at the whole year, the Steelers definitely need a cornerback number one. And if they get that kind of person there, then it can help out Edmonds, which I hope they re-sign, and it can help out Minka, it can help out the whole team. So I think it is kind of funny, but it's just the nature of the beast that does happen. But we have the chance to talk Steelers every day. So we can jump from cornerback number one to the Bengals stink, and I hope they lose next week. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
But we got one of them today. The Ravens were out. What were your thoughts? Did you see that fumble on the goal line?
Yeah. So I saw the fumble on the goal line. I thought it was a stupid play call by whoever called it, whether it was Harbaugh or whether it was their offensive coordinator. I think his guy's called Roman. Is it the guy's called the offensive coordinator?
Yeah, Greg Roman. They don't like him either, actually.
No. I mean, I think that was the ridiculous play call on the line. The quarterback, especially someone like Huntley, who's a backup, he's not the biggest, most physically strong guy either. And then you hear J.K. Dobbins interviewed after the game, and he's proper angry about it. He said that this is I think is quite remarkable that a player would break ranks like this and come out and say this. He came out and actually said that a quarterback sneak shouldn't be called in that position, and that they should be handing the ball off to him in the red zone there. That's his kind of play. They didn't. And why didn't they hand the ball to him? He would have gone in. And I think there's going to be a few repercussions, isn't there, from that? Because, for a player to come out and effectively call out your offensive coordinator, there's going to be repercussions, which is all good for the Steelers, because there's the more disharmony there is in the Ratbirds camp, the better for us.
Oh, much better. And even stuff with the Lamar Jackson news too. I think there's a possibility that he may be gone next year. But definitely, what goes through the offensive coordinator's mind, and we have our own troubles with Matt Canada, but what goes through his mind thinking, you know what? A quarterback sneak's going to work at the 1.5 yard line. And when you jump up, Huntley, make sure you hold the ball in the air like you're holding up the Lion King. You know what I mean? It just didn't, none of that made sense. It got knocked out of his hands. He was half a foot away. The Bengals run away. They get the victory. Now, one of them had to lose, so we got to hope, for us being Steeler fans, We've got to hope the Bills win next week. And I think they can. But yeah, like it's just I guess it's frustrating for their fan base. But I think there's a chance next year. I don't know if you agree with me, Owen. Is there the Steelers are what, second in that division now? Bengals are probably obviously first, right?
Yeah.
Are they not second with the falling of the Browns and the falling, or actually the Browns don't fall. They're always on the ground. But the Ravens are falling apart, right? Are they not?
Yeah, they are a bit. I think, yeah, they are. And I think there was, I mean, I know this is sort of getting slightly off topic and perhaps going about something we said we weren't going to talk about next season, but I think the Steelers are at a crossroads. They're really at a crossroads now, and they've got big decisions to make in the next 6 months. That we could go from being a mediocre team, well, let's say a good average team, to being a contender with the right decisions. And that means the right decisions with offensive coordinators, the right decisions with positions, the right decisions with player retention, the right decisions, going forward for the franchise as a whole. I honestly think this team is on the verge of something. It really is, but a lot depends on what happens in the next 6 months. That when we're sitting here, Mark, in August, looking at reviewing the forthcoming season, are we going to be looking at them as contenders to win the AFC North, contenders to get over in the playoffs, or are we going to think that was an opportunity lost? We haven't made the right free agent signs. We didn't make the right draft picks. We didn't retain the right coaches. And I really hope that come August, we're sat here saying, yeah, we've made the right decisions. We've gone forward to that crossroads. We haven't turned right or left.
I reckon they could have beaten the Bengals today, and they could have had a chance of beating the Bills, and they would have put up a better fight than the Dolphins and the whatever that Charger performance was, being up 27 points. I know they're all high scoring games, and Steelers aren't high scoring offense right now, but I feel like they would have had a better chance than a lot of teams, and all the wild cards went 0-3. So, yeah. But that's hearsay. Didn't happen, and here we are sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah, watching.
Yep, trying to watch anyway. Some of the games are pretty average. The quarterback play has been meh for some games, especially with Huntley and stuff like that. But yeah, that's all we can do right now. For me is hope for the Bengals to lose. I just want to see them lose. I don't want to take the risk of them going 0-4. But we are here to review the season, and I think it should be fun. We don't have to rush into all these things straight away. It's a very long time before the draft.
So if we think generally first, Mark, are you more optimistic now than you perhaps were at the bye?
Yeah, you know what? I think I am. I think this year is going to be pretty a hopeful season. I think because when you think about it, you have Kenny Pickett, right? That's a quarterback. If he's franchise or not, you know who your guy is going in the offseason. Whereas what happened last offseason, Owen? Did we know our guy?
No.
We didn't know.
It was a three-way battle, wasn't it?
Right? No one knew their guy. Mike Tomlin didn't know their guy. Matt Canada, no one knew who was going to be. They tried Trubisky as an experiment. They went and got Kenny Pickett in the draft. We didn't know what to expect. There was Rudolph rumors, right? No one knew what was going to happen. Now, from right now, we know it's going to be Kenny Pickett. So that's promising. And if you like him or you don't like him, it doesn't matter. It's going to be Kenny Pickett, and it's going forward. And he's shown progress throughout the games, and what took a team from 2-6 to set 9-8. So there's something to look forward to that. There's receiver-wise, Calvin Austin's going to have a chance. Now, we don't know if he's going to be awesome or not, but we sure do hope so. Then George Pickens is hopefully going to have a big year. There's a lot of promising things happening on the offense. And what we saw with the offensive line was fantastic. Not missing a snap. I think was it Mason? I was talking to Jeffrey Benedict on Behind the Steel Curtain the other day, and he said to me that Cole missed 40 snaps. That was it. Everyone else pretty much played the whole time. Yeah. So something to build around and be hopeful, even though we lost, right? Even though we lost and didn't make the playoffs. And I think also Mackenzie might be covering this kind of topic on Ask Mackenzie tomorrow when she does it live, talking about playoffs and the ramifications of that stuff. So look out for that too. But I'm not. It's kind of funny. I want to see my Steelers play in the playoffs this year, but I'm more hopeful that they can do more damage next year with a full off season with all these players and go into a draft. We don't know what's going to happen with Canada. At the same time, he is getting better. And the defense is getting better too. So something tells me that they can win. Maybe they couldn't win a playoff game this year if they made it, but next year they can definitely win. They can win a playoff game.
Yeah. I mean, if we think about the offense in terms of the offense, I think obviously you're right to mention Pickett, but for me, one of the biggest positives this season, and I think it's something that's kind of changed the priority for going forward, has been the offensive line and the progress they have made this year. And I think, like you said, Cole missed 40 snaps. I think Chooks missed one, but that's because they made him come off, but then he went straight back on again after that one snap. So the offensive line's made huge steps forward. I think that's a massive positive. Pat Mayer, the offensive line coach, I think needs huge props for what he's achieved this year. I mean, what's your take on the line and how they've moved forward this year, Mark?
Well, we haven't really talked about it, have we, since the bye? Do you know what I mean? We haven't been saying that they've been missing blocks here and there. Kenny Pickett hasn't been throwing that many interceptions. Kenny Pickett hasn't been getting sacked that much. The run game improved like tenfold. I think the offensive line's been playing fantastic. Me and Jeff also talked about this too the other day, right? We talked about how Chooks is probably going to be there. I'm not too sure what his deal is. James Daniel, he's a guy. Like, that's the guy right now, right? Mason Cole seems to be the guy that could be a true Steeler. He's like bought into the Steelers. I think we got him for a 2-year or 3-year contract. Right?
Yeah, 2 or 3 year
and
contract.
James Daniel was 2, and whatever Chooks is on, I'm fine with that. I'm okay with that. Now, are they the most outstanding players in the NFL? No, they're not. But they're doing a good job, and they're running the football. On the other side, Kevin Dotson going into his 4th year, he seems to be becoming more, mature. And this is for me too. One of the, I guess for a lot of fans, but I'll speak for me. The offensive line, I barely watch them. You might see, Cole fire someone up or take on the tackle and stuff like that. But you're watching the big players, aren't you? But still, at the same time, the facts are that this team was running so well and giving Kenny a chance. If they go and draft some depth guys or they bring someone else in as a veteran and, they have like a competition, but I wouldn't mind seeing the same 5. And I'll ask you, I don't mean to bring up BTC a lot, but I had a podcast with Jeff the other day, and he's awesome, by the way. But I'll ask you the same question. What I asked him, do you think it's going to be the 5 guys to start next year?
Yes, I do. And I don't think that it's as much of a priority as everyone now. You still look on the message boards. You still look on even I ran a community poll the other day, and offensive line came out as the top priority again. But I think people have got it so fixated in their head about this offensive line, they haven't actually looked at the last the last part of that season, the 9 games that we played after the bye. That I don't think there's any need to go out and spend high draft picks on a offensive lineman. Certainly not a first rounder. Maybe the second round pick, not the number 32, the second one, or a 3rd round pick. Someone to come in to back up Dotson, to back up more, or even go and get a veteran that could bring a bit of experience as a backup to one of those guys. But I don't think now the fundamental need is there because, like I said, I think Mayer. You know what? One of the things I learned when I was a coach was that a good coach works with what he's got and he makes what he's got better. And you might not have the most talented guys in the world, but if you can improve those guys to such an extent that they do a good job, which is what the line did, then you are a very, very good coach. And you're probably better than some of the guys who have got like the Bengals offensive line. They've spent millions on that. And their offensive line coach, I wouldn't say is as good as Mayer because Mayer's got worse pieces, but I think he's got that R line to overperform with what he's got. And I think, it will be the same 5 guys start game 1 next season.
I pretty much should have brought on Jeffrey Benedict from behind this little curtain because he also said another gem too. He said to me during that podcast, he said, if you go and draft a guy in the 1st round, what do you expect that he's going to be a great player? It can take 2 or 3 years for him to be comfortable in the offense, right? Yeah. And I kind of see that. And I kind of see the same thing behind this offensive line. We said at the start of the year and even last year, it sucks, it's terrible, it needs to get better. They dropped Green. They went and got Mason Cole, who we didn't know was going to be a guy or not. And I think he's a fiery guy. He wins a Chief Award. He's passionate for the team. He's playing good football. He's moving the ball forward, and he's running with the ball forward. James Daniel struggled early in the season too. He's getting turned around, but they're working together. At the same time, the 5 of them are working together. It's very rare in the NFL to see a line of 5, knock on wood, of 5 players working all together. I think that's like an extra piece of like, if you had them all rated, 80 or overall, putting them all together, I'd give them an 85. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the cohesion there. So, but everyone's saying, look, you have your opinion, not wrong. I think we still do need some O-line depth because obviously you need 5 starting. You need, 4 backups. You need a backup center, a backup tackle, stuff like that. I wouldn't mind going in the draft and getting a guy, but it's not a big need to be like, okay, we're going to trade up or we're going to go and grab this guy at this number. Otherwise, we're going to struggle for next year. No. If they go and start with Dan Moore and Dotson, they have another year under their belt. Pat Mayer has done some tremendous things with his line. They've got them like motivated. Whatever he's selling to them, it's working, right? Do you know what I mean? So and Daniels and Chooks, and I've just, it's kind of funny. What are your thoughts on Chooks Corafor? Like overall with his skill set and stuff like that. To me, I've always thought he's just an average guy, but he does the job. You know what I mean?
Yeah, his run blocking is not great. He's better at pass block. That's why I think majority of if you look at where the majority of successful runs at the end of the season went, it was either in that gap between Daniels and Cole,
right?
Because Daniels and Cole were busting holes, or it was to the left because at the end of the season, Moore and Dotson really, I think, had a determination to prove that they were the guys, and they were mauling guys and shoving people out the way. Harris, if you noticed, went to the left quite a lot and did get some longer runs going to the left of the line. So he is solid. He's a solid blocker. That's what he's there for. And he's not an outstanding offensive tackle, but he's a good offensive tackle. He does his job. He's solid. He is definitely.
You know what's funny?
It's like you said. What do they? We can go out and select Paris Johnson or Skoronski in the draft, but you stick them in week 1 in an AFC, if it's an AFC North game against the Bengals or the Ravens or the Browns, or if it's against, I don't know, the 49ers or against the Raiders or something like that. And he's got to go up against the likes of Max Crosby or Jerry Bosa or some of those, or Nick Bosa, whichever one of the Bosa brothers plays for the Niners, Myles Garrett, Calais Campbell, someone like that. I don't care how good a rookie he is, he's going to be made mincemeat out of because he hasn't got the experience yet to deal with those guys. He's a college prospect. And for me, it's just going to end up him getting made him, and we're going to be back at the thing, oh, he was a bust, wasn't he?
So who's your top 3 positional needs then? So, because I think we can both agree, and I at the start of the year, I thought it was offensive line. You know what I mean? But more I look at it, the more I see that the 5 guys played together. And if they're going into an off season, and you saw it with the Big Ben years, right? With DeCastro, Ramon Foster. I'm not saying that they're those kind of guys, but the cohesion is there, and that is fantastic. That's what you want as an O-line group. What is your top 3 positional needs if it's not going to be, or is the O-line included in that?
No. So, I mean, personally, I would go cornerback 1 for me is the biggest need, absolute massive need. And I know what people say about the interceptions and everything, but the counterpoint to that is you look at the Steelers matched up against wide receiver ones. We got burnt by Chase, we got burnt by Brown, we got burnt by Hill, we got burnt by Waddle, we got burnt by T. Higgins. We've got nobody you can just leave out there on a corner, on an island with their wide receiver 1 and go, right, that's dealt with. We haven't got to worry about that. Now that's sorted. We haven't got anyone like that. Cam Sutton is great, and I think we should re-sign Sutton, but he's a CB2. He's not a CB1. Levi Wallace is good, but he's a CB2. He was in Buffalo because Tre'Davious White was there 1. So CB1 is got to be the top priority for me. And there's so much talent in this draft with the likes of Joey Porter Jr., with the likes of Cam Smith, Antonio Johnson, and Kaylee Ringo. 2, I would say defensive line. I think we need more help on the defensive line because Cam isn't getting any younger. Tyson Alualu is obviously probably not going to be here next season. So for me, defensive line has to be a priority. There's the Siaki, there's that guy from Pitt whose name I can't remember now. And then you've got to sort of toss up then between inside linebacker and outside linebacker because I know we've got Highsmith and Watt, but you look behind Highsmith and Watt, and what is there? There's nothing. Malik Reed might not even be here next year, who we traded for.
Oh, he might have been the most underperforming Steeler. Is there a reward for that?
I know he should have. Yeah, he disappeared. Jameer Jones is a special teamer. That's all he is. That's why he was retained, because he was a better special teamer than Tusker. So he's nothing as an outside linebacker. I know they've tried to use Marvin Leal there, but I don't think that's his best position. So for me, it's between inside linebacker and outside linebacker. But a lot depends on what happens with the inside linebacker room, whether they re-sign Jack, what happens with Bush, how good Robinson's going to be. What did they do with Spillane? There's a lot of questions over that. Now, say they retain Spillane and Jack, and I don't think inside linebackers is higher priority then, because then it's outside linebacker. But for me, it's a toss-up between inside linebacker and outside linebacker. What would your 3 top priorities be?
I think I kind of agree with you with the cornerback, but I know I'll probably get shot down for this, but I don't really care. I wouldn't mind seeing them going and getting that receiver that they want to get, that Jordan Addison. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that'd be kind of like that. Look, I look back 2 years ago and like, why are you going to get Najee? We need help on the O line. And you look back and say, why they go and get a tight end? You're like, okay, why'd you go and get George Pickens? You're like, well, look at these players. They're fantastic. Yeah. Now, wouldn't it be cool to see if we had a real young offense with Kenny Pickett? You see it with Joe Burrow, how they've got T. Higgins, they got Jamar Chase, they got the other bloke, I can't remember, Tyler Boyd, right? All these pieces. Imagine if you give Kenny Pickett another piece. We have Calvin Austin. And I don't know Jordan Anderson from Barrow Soap. All I know is that it's a name that's been, hyped up so much. So it kind of, it kind of would make sense, I guess, for Steeler Nation to see him come in and they work together in Pitt. So to me, that would be one priority, that if you went receiver, because everything else around that is building the offense around Kenny Pickett. And that could happen. So you could get Pickens, you can have Addison, you build him in. I don't know if DJ stays or not. Re-sign Sims, sign Boykin too. Maybe Shesky's cut. And Calvin Austin comes in as well. That's like 5-6 receivers, right? That's your base. The O-line's exactly the same, like we talked about. Tight end, you have Connor Hayward. They're probably going and sign Gentry again to be the blocker. And it's pretty much the same as last year, but a few different pieces with Addison and stuff like that. Secondly, I do think like middle linebacker might be key, but you're right. What they're doing right now is pretty much saying, Devin Bush, you're on the outside looking in. See you later, mate. They didn't sign him on the 5-year contract. He's pretty much good as gone, in my opinion. And I'm glad that he's gone. I think he did his time. But near the end, he didn't want to be a Steeler. They're probably going to put Miles Jack and Spillane there unless they go and make a big splash play at getting like Tremaine Edmonds. He'd come in there, or a guy like him. But it would be cool to see the brothers play together. Terrell says, you know what? I want to play in Pittsburgh, but can you get my brother? Brother goes, you know what? I'm going to come down to Pittsburgh. You're building something special. You guys went 9-8. Mike Tomlin's my guy. You got Kenny Pickett, a great offense. Why wouldn't you want to come to Pittsburgh? Very similar from the Bills to what we are. So the second positional need, maybe defensive line, depending if they go and get someone at nose tackle or maybe someone behind to you start Cam, but you get someone to run behind Cam, if that makes sense. Thirdly, probably outside linebacker, I would probably say as well, because there is no one behind Highsmith or TJ Watt. And like I said, if we do the awards in a few moments or whatever you have prepared, I would give the award to I already forgot his name. What was his name? The Bronco. The outside.
Malik Reed.
Malik Reed, that's right. Sorry, I forgot his name.
Malik
Reed, he would be the most underperforming Steeler, I think, that this year. You just didn't see him. You never saw any impact on the field. So that might happen. Here's a question for you, though, before you get into some more review and more awards. Do you think that our number 17th pick, whoever it is, will be a starter? Do you think there'll be a starter on the defense, like on the team?
Yes. If it's a cornerback, yes, I think it will be. I think Joey Porter, Kaylee Ringo, there's Cam Smith, the guys who you'd pick at that 17th pick are all ready to go into the team. If the Steelers did go with what you said and went Jordan Addison is slated to go mid-first round. So around where the Steelers pick, because he's only the third highest prospect coming out of college. He would be. I don't think he would be a star because we've got Deontay and we've got George Pickens. But no, I think whoever you pick in the top first round, you've got to expect them to start because they are the outstanding player that you've picked, haven't you? So yeah, I think given the fact the Steelers will probably go with the cornerback, a defensive lineman, or maybe an offensive lineman. Hopefully not. Hopefully a CB or a DT. I think, yeah, there would be starters.
So pretty much that's going to match their overall need, right? So if you need that receiver, if Deontay Johnson goes, if you need that, obviously, the cornerback position of need is that we don't have a true number one. So maybe everything's kind of lining up that way to go and get a cornerback number one at starter, because I can't say who would be starter next year. You got Sutton and Levi Wallace, and those dudes are good. They're okay. They're fine, but they're not number one. So if you were to go and get Porter at 17 or whoever, Ringo, like you said, then they could be a starter, right? And then you move on from that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I know people say, like I said, they'll say, "Oh, well, we need offensive players. We need." I honestly think cornerback one. I know our good mate Matty Peverill has been saying this since last year. We need a cornerback one. I think it's absolutely desperate. I honestly think if we go and get a cornerback one, someone of the talent of Ringo, of Porter, of Smith, of Johnson, and if they live up to the billing that they're coming out of college with, that they are, and I know that's obviously always a big question. Honestly think this defense goes from being a very good defense to an elite, scary defense, because you've got the secondary then covered, which is the area that got burnt a few times. And then it doesn't matter if we're loading the box and trying to stop the run, because you can leave that corner one-on-one with somebody because they're going to be able to cover them. And that was part of the issue at the end of the season when we saw big plays being given away on throwing games, because the Steelers were so focused on stopping the rush against Baltimore, against the Raiders, against the Browns as well at the end of the season. So they weren't covering Cooper perhaps, or they weren't covering Adams or whoever, because at the end of the day, they're so focused on stopping the run. But you've got a true cornerback one, you don't need to worry about it, because that guy is step for step with their leading receiver, and he ain't going to go anywhere. You've only got to look at the likes of Tre'Davious White, Sauce Gardner, Sauce Gardner's a rookie. He's been outstanding this season for the Jets. Snead for Kansas City, James Bradbury and Darius Slay for the Eagles. These guys, you can leave them one-on-one with somebody and they're going nowhere and they're not getting the ball.
It was even like was a Hunter Renfro on Christmas Eve torched us, right?
Oh, yeah.
We still won that game, but look, we know you can't protect every single player, but it would be kind of cool to see that cornerback number one, bring him in and see what he can do, because I think this defense is going to be fantastic next year.
Absolutely.
But just take on Jamar Chase, like that's one-on-one matchup right there.
I mean, I think as well, looking back across the season, I think the defense this year came ranked 10th overall for total defense. Wow. Our defense was ranked 10th.
Really?
Yeah, they improved hugely in the run defense. I can't remember. They were top 10, I think, in run defense. They obviously led the league in interceptions. They did give up quite a few yards in the passing. I think that was where we were let down. I think that's what pulled the defense down was the secondary. But you look at that defense, and how many teams they held under 20 points this season, and then you put that as well with the fact that for 7 games this season we did not have TJ Watt, and then for a number of games when he came back, that was not 100% fully fit TJ Watt. Now that defense still managed to perform top 10 without Watt for the vast majority of the season. Now you think next season with a fully fit Watt going all season, what can they be?
You know what? I just found that out. No, 9 teams. They held the defense held them to 20 and under.
Yeah, there
you go. 9. That's pretty good. That's not bad. All we're gonna do is score 3 touchdowns. Or how many Boswell field goals? 9.
7. But yeah, I think so. I mean, in terms of if we sort of bring this now together with sort of thinking about obviously who performed, if we start on the offensive side of the ball, who was your biggest MVP, your biggest star on the offensive side of the ball, Mark?
There's a few, but I want to go with one, and that's Jalen Warren. I have to give it to Warren. I know it should be Najee. I know it should be Pickens. I know it should be Kenny Pickett up there too. There's a few of them up there. There's offensive line. We talked about that. But if I want to choose one, if I walked in the locker room and I was giving out a game ball and I was the coach, or if I was, I don't know, whoever I am, walked in there, YouTube celebrity as I am. No, I'm just joking. I'm absolutely no one. But if I walked in there, super fan, right? I'm giving out there, I'm giving out there the game ball and I go, all right, Warren, that's my guy. This year, I think he played fantastic for what his role was. And I thought, getting him that TD was awesome to get his very first TD. Just during the time that people were saying it wasn't meaningful football, meaningful for him, it's meaningful for the team, it's meaningful for his career and stuff like that. like undrafted guy. Training camp, there was a bit of buzz around him, and we didn't know if he was going to make the team or not. And then he did, and then every week he just started to perform. And the way he runs is Wrecking Ball Warren, man. I think he's a guy that next year, if you're not excited for next year with the Steelers running the football, then I don't know why you would want to watch a team like this. Next year is going to be awesome to see. 1-2 punch in Najee Harris getting better, bigger. Joel Moore in year 2 as well. Going to be fantastic. I think he's my guy that this year he pretty much caught everything from the backfield.
Yeah.
I think he missed a few passes. He's got great hands, great route running ability too, out of the backfield as well. I hope they can, open the playbook up and really scheme, running back passes or not more or less screens, but just get him the football. You know what I mean? Get him out in the open, get him one-on-one with linebackers. I thought he bailed out Kenny Pickett a lot. I thought he bailed out Trubisky a bit in stuff like that. And every time he runs forward. And he's like that mighty Minnie Mouse, kind of like Maurice Jones-Drew was, right? Yeah. Shoulders down, head, and run through it. And his mentality and like his humility to be a Steeler and to play for the team. He says he's not the best person on the field, but he wants to go and beat the guys who are. And I think that's fantastic. He doesn't consider himself a pro. He's just going out there and balling every single day. I thought he was great to watch this season. He's the one highlight for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's good. Obviously, we're not going. I think it'd be really easy to go for superstars like Pickens, superstars like Muth, like Najee, like Kenny. But I'm going to go as well with someone, and perhaps this should be like an most underrated MVP maybe award that we're giving out here. I'm going to go for Connor Haywood because I think at key moments in games he came out and he did the job that was required of him. So, for example, in Atlanta, he caught that touchdown pass that ultimately helped us win that game. He got, I can't remember who we were playing now, but there was a game where he ran for a first down and he could have gone further, but I think it was an end around, wasn't he? He went round and he could have gone further, but he knew that all he had to do was get the first down and we could ice the game at that point. And I think for me, he grew as the season went on. And as he just came in at vital moments and did things that we needed him to do. And I think for a guy who was picked so late on in the draft, I think it was a 6th round pick. That is out. That's outstanding. I think he is going to be a star for years to come.
I think that was the Raider game, if I'm not mistaken. Below in the comments in the chat right now, let me know. I think it was the Raider game. He went for 21 yards. But no, you are right though. And the same thing I bring back to the meaningful football comments where the 5% of the Steelers fans. I always say some, but when you think about it, the 5% of fans saying, "Oh, it's meaningless. This game doesn't mean anything." Well, it does mean a lot. It means a lot to Connor Haywood in his first year and getting that TD in Atlanta where his father played and playing with his brother. It means so much. I remember doing my live streams this year, and it was fantastic, by the way, that like every time I saw it was a Warren or Najee Harris, you'd see Connor Haywood leading the block. And you'd be like, oh, and you go, hang on, oh, wait, Connor Haywood's up there. You can see number 83 running through, Yeah. So that was awesome to see. And kind of like, what, he is wearing 83, right? So he's doing, Heath Miller justice.
Yeah, definitely.
So definitely. I think he's had a pretty big year. And how do you think they use him next year?
I think we use him in both ways. I think we use him both. We're catching the ball out of the backfield and, well, not as a tight end. And I think we also use him in the backfield as well as a halfback, as a fullback. I think he can do both. I think his position flexibility is obviously Tomlin loves players with position flexibility. I mean, we always hear him say that, doesn't he? He loves that. And I think Haywood's got that. He's the perfect position flexible guy on offense. I think there's so much you can do with him.
But look at these guys. You've got like Najee Harris kind of woke up, the mid-year, you probably heard all the noise about him running backwards, running slow, that kind of stuff. And then he played physical football, right? Then you hear Jalen Warren, he was always physical from the start. And you got Connor Haywood, who's very physical too. These guys, like you look at them and go, you can't just label them as a running back, fullback, or halfback, whatever they are. Yeah. Pretty much in a big nutshell, they're football players. They're just football players. Go and watch highlights of Haywood running down, blocking someone in the face. Like it was fantastic. And even shout out to Derek Watt. He played some good football too. He might be the unsung hero as well. Like how many times did he get first downs and got touchdowns, and they started to use it more? They were using this more like, they were just running the ball with more, I don't know, more heart than last year, right? Yeah. It just seemed different. And that's probably because of the offensive line as well.
Yeah. So if we move on to the defensive side of the ball, and I think, again, there's obvious candidates, isn't there, on the defensive side of the ball? But who would you go with MVP wise on the defensive side of the ball?
Oh, MVP. Well, the obvious one is Minka. But I don't want to choose Minka. MVP for the defense.
Practically went let's go. Let's take it as an unsung MVP. Someone who not a Minka. Obviously, Minka is so easy to give it to. Minka has been the best defensive player by a street this year. I think, is it 6 interceptions he's had this year? He's held the defense together at different times. I think he's been brilliant this year.
So kind of like the similar one to the Hayward Award, right? But defense. So yeah, Minka's the guy. I'm trying to I'm tossing up between two names, and I know that one guy was injured too.
Go for the two names. Tell me the two names. Give me the two names.
Well, I think Highsmith is up there for sure. Getting 40.5 sacks, he has to be up there. And the other guy, which I like the way how they're playing their defense now, is DeMonte Carzee, and I hope they go and sign him because I like the way how they play their defense when he's in there. Carzee, he also got injured too, and everyone talks about when TJ Watt was out, we had no chance. Well, their kind of scheme had no chance as well. What they wanted to implement, from what we all heard for the training notes and training camp, they want to implement that safety coming down the box, what Terrell Edmonds excels at. And I would love to see him come down to the box and play next to his brother. That'd be fantastic. But when Carzee was back there, I never saw anyone go his direction. And then you don't want to go Minka's direction either, because they're both playing some good roles. So I think Carzee deserves an award for that. But then I can start naming players one by one if you want me to. It's too hard. They all played some good football,
you're right,
man.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Carzee and Highsmith are fantastic shouts. They both did very, very well this season. I'm going to go with Terrell Edmonds because I think he's someone who he's always he's throughout his career, no matter how long, if he stays with the Steelers for the rest of his career, he is always going to be overshadowed by Minka Fitzpatrick because Minka Fitzpatrick is the best safety in the NFL. He is just unbelievably good. But Terrell, for me, this season, I thought he got better than he did last season. He contributed. And I think part of what made the run defense better was the fact that Edmonds played a more active role in that. He came down to the box more. He helped stop the run. And also the fact that, the Carolina game where he absolutely trucked their left tackle, Ike Ekwonu. It was like a top draft pick. He ran straight over the top of him, just smashed him to the ground. And that's a safety running over an offensive tackle. I mean, the offensive tackle, man, he's got a family. He's got to go home and face that family after being trucked by a safety. I mean, that's got to be embarrassing, isn't it? But I think Edmonds this year really stepped up. He showed the Steelers that they need to keep hold of him. He showed those, I think, Steelers fans who doubted him because he's been labelled a bust for so long because he was a first-round pick. But I think his compliment to Minka allowed them to go and do what they did. Once Carzee was back, he was able to be part of that 3-safety set. And because we were having so many problems at inside linebacker, he came down in the box and was kind of like a supplementary linebacker at times. So I'm going to go with Edmonds.
All right, let's do a little bit of a sidetrack here. Let's play a bit of game of trivia. And you know how Mike Tomlin always talks about splash plays? I'm going to ask you some questions, and don't go to the stats because I'm going to ask you stat questions. Let's see how many you can get right. Who led the tackles this season for total tackles for the Steelers defense?
Robert Spillane.
No, it's actually Miles Jack with 104. Right?
See, I would have gone with Spillane because it always seemed he was always winning. He always seemed to have the highest number of tackles in games.
Spillane was there with 79. He got fourth. Devin Bush 81. He must have been playing two-hand touch when Miles Jack made the tackle. Devin Bush came back, was around the ball a little bit. Minka led was second in tackles for 96. Who led the team in sacks? You should be able to get this one.
Alex Highsmith.
Highsmith had 14.5. You know what's very interesting though, right? I think Cameron Hayward had a quiet season, even though he played fantastic, but no one's really talking about his season either because he's just a guy that's always there. But Cameron Hayward had 10.5 sacks. Did you know that he's also, people talk about that TJ Watt is like 3 sacks away from James Harrison's record. That Hayward's in front of him. He's 2 away. Yeah. If you go to the sacks, it's 80. Cameron Hayward is 78.5, and I think that TJ Watt is 77.5.
So theoretically, Hayward could break the record first.
We forget that. I saw that stat the other day, and I'm like, everyone's talking about when will TJ break it? When will TJ break it? Well, because TJ, it would have broke it this year, right? That's why we talked about it. But there's a chance now that Cameron Hayward can break it before TJ Watt. So you got that one right. So it's 14.5. How many? Now this one I think is different. This doesn't include sacks.
Yeah.
Who led the Steelers with tackles for loss?
Good question. I'm going to go with Highsmith.
He was close. He got 12, and that doesn't include. So he got in the back for 26 times. I'm pretty sure that works. Cameron Hayward was tackled for loss 14 times.
Wow.
Right. So he's up there too. How about pass deflection? This one will throw you. When I saw this, who led the Steelers in pass deflections?
You'd say your head would say go with Cameron Hayward because he's always got his arms up in the air. He's always batting the ball, isn't he? He's always up. He's always, if he can't get to the quarterback, he's always like this, isn't he, in the air?
He's pretty close to some secondary players.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Miles Jack, just as out of random.
Now, pass deflection was actually Cameron Sutton. He had 15. Oh, okay. So the cornerbacks are doing their job, but they get targeted the ball more, right? I would love to see the percentage of, like, if you were to go past Cameron Hayward or Terrell Edmonds, if the ball's going his way, the percentage. But Cameron Sutton led with 15 pass deflections. Cameron Hayward had 4. Terrell Edmonds had 5. TJ Watt had 5. So those guys are jumping up. Who led the Steelers defense in interceptions? You should know this one.
Minka
had 6. Levi Wallace had 4. Cameron Sutton had 3. TJ Watt had 2 apparently. Okay, that's crazy. Oh, actually, didn't he get one against Bo Jarrow?
Yeah, he did.
There's another nickname for Joe Burrow. Millett had 1. Kazi had 2. Pierre had 1 in there. So there's the 17, 18 interceptions. What about TDs? How many TDs did the defense get? What players?
Minka got 1.
Yeah, just the one to Minka. And fumble wise, how many? This one is good too. How many fumbles was the highest? Was the player? Sorry,
forced fumbles.
Yeah, how many forced fumbles?
I think it was Highsmith. I think wasn't Highsmith quite high because I read somewhere about Highsmith having a high.
Yeah. So looking through the season, this stuff goes really fast, right? It's really, really fast. But I went and saw these stats the other day, and I was like, Highsmith got 5 fumbles. Like, he could be the MVP on the defense this year. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, he got stumped for the Pro Bowl, and that's a joke anyway, right? But Highsmith led the team with 5 forced fumbles. How many fumble recoveries do you think the play? Or no, name one player who got a fumble recovery. Let's do that question better.
Terrell Edmonds.
No, you should have said Josh Jackson.
Josh Jackson, wow.
Chris Worthington got 1, Josh Jackson got 1, and Hayward got 1 too. So obviously, as many fumbles as we had, we're not recovering them. So we had 5. Wow. So we had 9 fumbles, only recovered 3 of them. So anyways, there's just some cool stats there. But I thought it was quite interesting when you said, who was the unsung hero? And there are so many guys like Kazi, like Terrell Edmonds, that without these players, the defense doesn't work to their full potential. Mm-hmm. And even Highsmith next year, 14.5 sacks. We could do a whole show on Highsmith. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that's pretty good. We all talk about TJ Watt, and here's Highsmith getting 14.5 sacks. And I don't know, not many people are people buying Highsmith jerseys. Like, they're all buying TJ Watt jerseys. It's just it's crazy. We have both these players on our team.
Absolutely. So let's bring it together, Mark, because obviously how long we've gone on with our little Premier podcast here. What are your final thoughts on this season, Mark? Looking back,
you know what? I'm pretty proud of the team, to be honest. I think where they started was awful. The 2-6 start it causes grief, and also actually every Steeler game is causing stress levels throughout through the roof. Hopefully next year we can go and win some games by 10, 17 points, relax, and just watch Kenny just open up the field. But I'm pretty proud of the season. I think all Steelers fans should be proud, even though we didn't make the playoffs. And like I said, check out Ask Mackenzie's podcast. I think tomorrow she's talking about, is it a good thing that the Steelers didn't make the playoffs? She has a different take on that, and that's going to be cool, interesting to watch. But there's something really optimistic about this season, that we have a rookie quarterback, we have the pieces around that, they're building to something, and the fact that they can run the ball now is super exciting. Like that, we've been waiting for this run game to have this impact, right? Yeah. We haven't seen this in 2-3 years, and now they can do it with a 1-2 punch. Offensive line's much better, and that tells me that they can go, and whoever they verse week 1, I reckon they got a chance. And will we see the first time in 8 years' time? Will the Steelers get a home game? Hopefully.
No,
we haven't had a home game, and that would be so exciting to have week 1. Steelers versus whoever at Heinz Field at Acrisure Stadium and get a W, 1-0, and it's like, okay, Kenny, this is your team, the defense, let's go. That's we should all really be excited, to be honest.
Absolutely, yeah. I agree with you. I'm really proud of what they've done. I'm really proud of the second half of the season. The fact they never gave up, they never stopped fighting until the end, and there was a determination, I think, to play for the coach. And I think that was another thing that really came through towards the end of the season. How much these players bought into Mike Tomlin's strategy, how much they bought into fighting for their coach, and they wanted to fight for their coach. You only have to listen to some of them talking about dying for him, running through walls for him, etc., etc. And I think, that's testimony just to the job Mike Tomlin's done as well. And obviously we didn't even touch on that and how well he's done the second half of the season. So guys, thank you to anyone who's joining in the chat below. Thank you to Mark as well for this morning. Well, evening, morning, I don't know, forget it, man. It's some part of the day. Down under.
Pretty much like whatever time we do, it's opposite. And in America is our middle. So America's right in the middle. So if it's my 10 p.m., it's Owen's, 9 a.m. now or something?
It's 11 o'clock now here.
So we're exactly opposite. Like I'm 10 p.m. and you're 11 a.m., right? And in America, it's right in the middle. It's just right in the middle. Yeah. So that's why I guess you'll never see us do a podcast at night. Or we try when you're awake at 5.
Yeah, I could do that.
Cool. No, it's good. It's good, man. I think it's a good reflection on the season. I've learned a little, more about that. Highsmith is very integral to our defense. I think he deserves a big shout out for what he's done in his personal, growth throughout the Steelers and what he's heading into his third year. Is it his third year or fourth year?
Fourth
I can't
year,
remember.
Highsmith.
Fourth year. Yeah. So that's big, man. You have to go and, pay his packet and see what happens there. And I'm sure Omar Khan can figure that out because you don't want to lose a guy like that. No. But just individually, there's some guys that are really starting to get together. And I bet you the team as a whole are probably thinking, you know what? I'm pretty excited for next year.
Yeah.
Like you win 4 in a row, that's telling you something.
100%. 100%. So yeah, overall, guys, the messages, obviously, we're very optimistic for next season. And I think it was a title I used in one of my videos. I can't remember if it was on Syndicate or whether it was on my channel. The future's bright. The future's black and gold.
The future is bright. The future is black and gold. And you took that from somewhere, didn't you? But it's still pretty good. Though.
I borrowed it from a mobile phone company.
That's not bad at all.
Okay, guys, thank you so much. Oh, sorry.
If we hear Mike Tomlin say that, we know he's watching.
Yeah, hopefully he is. I'll send him. I'll send him an email. So thank you, Mark, for joining us this evening, morning, night. And
too easy.
Whenever. Thank you, guys, as well. Thank you, everyone who's obviously remember to hit that sub, ring that notification, guys, so you don't miss out on the content. Remember to check out Mackenzie's podcast tomorrow as well. Okay, thank you, guys. Mark, you're going to see us out in your usual indomitable fashion.
Here we go, Steelers. Here we go.